Please be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is the case of Lapine versus Lapine.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone.
Good day.
Ms. Lapine, you say for the past 30 years, you'd always believed the defendant, Mr. Lapine, was your dad.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then just months ago at a family dinner, you were told by a family member that he's not your biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Still in shock, you state you're here today to finally discover the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lapine, you say you've spent years in jail for unpaid child support and your life has been turned upside down.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tomorrow you have yet another court date.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim you could be locked up again if today's results prove you are indeed Ms. Lapine's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Lapine, tell me, what happened the night you first learned the defendant may not be your biological father?
We was at a family dinner and we was all just discussing how our parents was, and then family members started saying that, well, you don't know if he's your dad or not because you don't look like your dad and he might not be your dad.
Wait a minute, wait. Did you ever heard of anything like this?
No, Your Honor.
Oh my goodness. What did you say?
I went to another family member and asked if this was true, and they just told me that this was not the time or place to talk about it and just shrugged it off.
Wow. So did you reach out to your father, Mr.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I called him the next day and asked him if it was true, and my father said that that guy was around at the time. So then he started questioning it.
So hold on. They gave you a name?
Gave me a name.
Of the man that was your father?
Yes.
Wow. Mr. Lapine.
Yes, ma'am.
For 30 years, all this time, you believe this young girl was your daughter?
Yes, ma'am. And I've been 4 to 5 years in jail, and it gets rough.
4 to 5 years in jail.
Yes, ma'am.
For unpaid child support.
Yes, Your Honor.
For a young woman that calls you and then says, some family member told me you may not even be my biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You actually have a court date tomorrow.
1:30 tomorrow afternoon.
Concerning the child support for this young woman that you're still behind on.
Yes, ma'am.
You could be thrown back in jail again for being behind, and yet you still don't know whether you're her biological father.
True. I don't know if I'm her dad or not.
Have you ever been arrested for anything else besides this child support issue?
Never, ma'am. Nothing.
Just getting behind in child support.
Yes, ma'am. That's it. It's the only time I've ever been in jail.
So 30 years go by. 30 years you thinking you have a daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You're going in and out of jail for child support as it relates to her.
Yes, ma'am.
When you get that phone call and she tells you a family member said that to her, do you go back in time to those moments after you learned her mother was pregnant?
I went all the way back. I thought about everything after that.
What were your revelations?
I counted back months. I was like, wait a minute. There's a month or two here that I wasn't even down there and she's supposed to be pregnant at this time.
You started doing some math and you felt like it didn't add up.
Yes, ma'am.
You said, well, the window of conception would have been around this time and
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
this may or may not be mine.
Yes, ma'am.
So after you learned her mother was pregnant, you went on and married and signed the birth certificate and you stepped up to be the father.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you remember her mother being intimate with anybody else during that time?
I didn't know then. After me and her separated, I was told by friends of mine that they had slept with her and other people.
Wow. So as you look at Ms. Lapine, do you feel like she looks?
No, ma'am, she looks nothing like me. And the dark
But your
skin,
other daughter, you claim, looks like you.
dark hair, dark skin, skinny, looks identical to me.
Jerome, I think it's time we meet her. Please escort her in.
Hey, ma'am. I'm gonna have you go up to the witness stand up here, next to the judge.
Please be seated. Thank you for joining us. And your name?
Jennifer Lapine.
Mr. Lapine is your father.
Yes.
And you grew up believing Brandy was your sister.
Yes.
So when did you hear about there being any doubt?
I mean, we were always teased about it, but
Who would tease you?
it's just different family members. So
What would they say?
it was just things like, oh, well, you're the milkman's baby, stuff like that. It's just been, after so many years, you think something, and then it comes out, and then you see it affect everybody. It's not just me and her, it's our kids, it's, everybody around us. It's our whole family. Because this is what we thought, this is what we believed. And now all of a sudden it's like, it may not be, but
What are
it's
you
hard.
holding
It's
in your
difficult.
hand? If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell.
This is a picture we took last week of me, my dad, and my sister.
And you feel like you strongly resemble your father,
Right,
but Brandy does not.
right.
When you look at this picture, Brandy, what do you feel?
I always thought that I just got my mother's side of the genes. I always thought, I look like my mom, but I always thought I had my dad's attitude.
Okay, that's
I
fair.
always thought that, but I mean, as you could tell, no, we don't look nothing alike, but your kids don't always look like you, so I was just like,
And your dad says all these years you thought she was
Yes,
your
Your Honor.
daughter.
Yes, Your Honor. And here's where I've been paying child support.
Yeah.
I'd go to the courthouse and pay.
Jerome, please pass
I
me
would
that
have
evidence.
it taken out of my paychecks and everything else. I would go to the courthouse and make them take it out of my paychecks all the time. They go back.
Record after record.
They go back to 1998. Some spots in there that aren't there, I was in jail.
For unpaid child support.
Yes, ma'am.
And with a court date tomorrow, the stakes, they really can't be any higher because they could send you back to jail.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a vicious cycle at some point. If you lose your job or you get behind in your support, then you go to jail. Well, even if you had a job, when you go to jail, you lose the job.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you come out of jail, you gotta find another job. And it can keep happening over and over again.
but where was he when he wasn't in jail?
I left for 10 years.
You and her mother broke up.
I come home, she come into where I was sitting and told me, I want you to move out.
And how old was Miss Lapine then? How old was your daughter?
3. I just packed my stuff and left. Now I wish I'd never left.
So, Mr. Lapine, you have regrets
Yes, ma'am.
because you feel like you let your daughters down?
I did let them down. And I'm sorry. I wish I'd never left. I wasn't worried about what their mom had to say. And then I wouldn't have messed Miss Hopper. And she's been there with me through the thick and thin.
Please stand up, ma'am. State your name.
Linda Opfer.
Thank you for joining us today, ma'am. I see you're very emotional as well.
It's been hard because every time Richard goes to jail, and not only do Brandy and Jennifer lose their father again, but also my 4 children.
And to be clear, you all are in a relationship.
26 years.
Yes, ma'am.
26 years.
Yeah. So they lose their father, and my children call him Dad. Everybody suffers.
Everyone suffers.
Yes.
And your fear is he's going to go back to jail tomorrow if these results prove that he is Brandy's biological father.
Well, and it's every time he goes, I lose a part of my soul.
But you still find yourself in this scary situation because
Yes,
you
ma'am.
haven't been able to catch up on this support. So you still are in fear of getting locked up all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
Always.
See, I'm on disability now. And when they take my child support out, I only get $600 a month after that. That's it.
So they're taking for your arrears.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Brandy, I have to ask you, what have the last couple of months been like struggling with this information? Have you tried to find this name they gave you, this man?
Yes, I have looked for this man, Bill, but there is 239 people.
Oh,
all over the
Jerome, let me
place.
see that.
I would not begin to know who to start with.
So you started your
start.
search. You said, let me try to find this gentleman they've named.
Yes, Your Honor.
239 from pretty much every state in the
Yes.
United States.
Yes, Your Honor.
16 in Pennsylvania, 8 in Tennessee, 3 in Washington, 13 in North Carolina. And you're trying to look for your potential biological father with these types of odds.
Yes. Because
And then
I'm getting married soon, and I just want to know who my real dad is.
And then I have to ask you this. When you hear about the man you believe to be your father, Mr. Lapine, your whole life, facing jail time again tomorrow.
I don't know.
Take your time. I know this is difficult. Because you really don't know, right?
No, I don't.
Tell your father how you feel.
I feel upset that you wasn't there for all them years. And I feel like even though I love y'all to death and I love my brothers and sisters, I feel like that you did more for them than you ever did for us.
That 10 years I was gone was my mistake. Because that was 10 years I missed out of you guys' life. Like I said, that was my mistake.
Jennifer, is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to say before we go to the results?
The lurking feeling still in the back of my mind of where were you? You know, why weren't you there? Would it have changed our childhood? You know, would things have made things different for us as we were growing up? I mean, I love your kids to death, Linda. I do, and I look at them as my brothers and sisters.
They are your brother and sister.
But in a way, I'm jealous of them because my dad raised them, but he didn't raise me. He wasn't there for me, but he was there for them.
We can't make the past up.
No, we can't.
No, I
we
can't, but I
have
make
had-
the future better.
Very well said. And Jennifer, you've also requested that a paternity test be done on your behalf.
Yes, ma'am.
To make sure Mr. Lapine is also your biological father.
Yes, ma'am. Just to be comfort here and support my sister and let her know I'll go through it with her too. I'll be there with her through everything.
I think it's time to get both results. If anyone would like to take a seat, please feel free. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics and they read as follows. The first result pertains to Jennifer. In the case of Lapine versus Lapine, when it comes to Jennifer Lapine, Mr. Richard Lapine, you are her father. The next result pertains to Brandy. In the case of Lapine versus Lapine, as it pertains to the paternity of Ms. Brandy Lapine, Ms. Lapine, Mr. Richard Lapine. Do you want to watch Paternity Court on TV? Go to paternitycourt.tv to find your local listings. In the case of Lapine versus Lapine, as it pertains to the paternity of Ms. Brandy Lapine, Ms. Lapine, Mr. Richard Lapine is not your biological father.
No matter what, still my daughter.
Ms. Lapine, this courtroom is about the truth, finding out the truth. There is a scientific truth, and then there's also the spiritual truth, the loving truth. And that's that you all are a family, you know? Yeah. Mr. Lapine?
Yes, ma'am.
I do need you to understand, you voluntarily signed the birth certificate when Brandy was born, so you will likely still be legally responsible for that child support. And I need you to understand that. However, this is evidence you can present to your attorney on your behalf.
Yes, ma'am.
I wish you the very best in your court appearance tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Court is adjourned.